week after week as she, has done well and established herself as a really good player on tour. They all come out to support her, and so I think we saw that in Australia when it was kind of overcrowded. They put her on a too small.
Jessica Pegula has done it. She is the WTA Dubai Open champion. But in the middle of celebrating one of the biggest wins of her career, she chose to do something that speaks volumes about who she really is. Instead of making the moment all about herself, Pegula used the spotlight to lift someone else up. And that someone was Alex Eala. Fresh off her victory, Pegula turned the conversation toward the young Filipina star and made her stance crystal clear. In her eyes, Alex Eala is not just another talented prospect trying to survive on tour. She is a genuine rising star, a player who has already proven she belongs on the biggest stages in tennis. But according to Pegula, there's a serious issue. The WTA, she implied, is not treating Eala like the star she is becoming. And Pegula is no longer willing to stay silent about it. She pointed directly to her own experience against Eala at the Miami Open. Walking into that match, Pegula admits she wasn't fully prepared for what awaited her. The atmosphere shocked her, in the best way possible. The stadium was buzzing. The crowd was massive, loud, and deeply invested in every single rally. The energy was electric. Pegula described it as insane, not as a complaint, but as admiration. What she witnessed that day wasn't just support, it was belief. She saw a young player who had already built a following that many established stars spend entire careers trying to create. That match wasn't just another tournament appearance. It was proof that Alex Eala has something special, something that goes beyond rankings and wild cards. She has the connection, the charisma, and the competitive fire that draws people in. And Jessica Pegula made it clear. The tennis world needs to start paying attention.
Amazing. I mean, I played her when she kind of broke out last year in Miami, and I'm from there, and the whole crowd was against me, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, where do these people come from?
And Jessica Pegula made it clear. This wasn't just about one magical night in Miami. She was specific. Whether it was Miami, the Australian Open, or Dubai, Alex Eala has consistently drawn some of the largest, most passionate crowds on tour. This isn't a coincidence. It isn't hype. It's a pattern. People show up for her. They travel across countries for her. They stand in long lines just to catch a glimpse of her warming up. That kind of magnetism can't be manufactured. Tennis has spent years trying to grow certain markets, trying to build stars who can move audiences. And here is a young woman from the Philippines who has done it organically, through pure talent, personality, and an inspiring journey. That's what makes the situation so hard to ignore. Because despite everything Eala has brought to the sport, she continues to be scheduled on smaller courts. And to Pegula, that's not just confusing. It's disrespectful. She pointed specifically to the Australian Open. The scenario she described raises real questions. You had a player reportedly pulling in some of the biggest crowd numbers of the tournament. Fans were flying in from across Asia, from the Philippines and beyond, making the trip specifically to see Alex Eala compete. They came ready to create an atmosphere, ready to support their star, ready to be part of something special. And when they arrived, they were met with a court that simply couldn't hold them all. Seats filled instantly. Walkways overflowed. Spectators were left standing, straining for a view, while the energy outside the court suggested this match belonged on a far bigger stage. Pegula's underlying message was simple. When a player consistently proves she can fill stadiums, scheduling her on outer courts sends the wrong signal. It tells fans their passion doesn't matter. It tells the player her impact isn't being fully recognized. And in Pegula's view, that's a mistake the sport cannot afford to keep making.
It was Eala is the match that I was looking at, and there was people like wrapped around the stadium just trying to get in, which is pretty crazy. And I mean, it's cool to see and it's exciting, but obviously, for fan experience, I don't know, because I'm not living that same experience, but hopefully the event kind of continues to grow.
People were standing outside. Lines stretched endlessly around the venue. Fans waited, hoping the doors would open, hoping security would let a few more slip through. Many of them had traveled across countries. Some had spent months planning the trip, Flights, hotels, tickets, all for the chance to watch Alex Eala compete on one of the biggest stages in tennis. And many never made it inside. They stood beyond the gates, listening to roars they couldn't join, watching a match they couldn't see. And then Eala was eliminated. Just like that, the opportunity was gone. For those supporters, all that remained was the memory of a line that never moved fast enough. Jessica Pegula did not soften her words. She called it disrespect. Disrespect toward Eala, toward the fans, and toward the undeniable momentum that has been building around her name. What makes Pegula's comments hit harder is this. She's not speaking from the outside looking in. She was there. She's competed in those conditions. She's played against Eala and felt that electricity firsthand. When Pegula says something isn't right, she's speaking from experience, not speculation. She also revealed something that should have dominated headlines. She said she was told that the Australian Open recorded one of the best crowd turnouts in its history, and that Alex Eala's presence was a significant driver of that surge. Think about that. Record-breaking energy, massive audience interest, a player drawing unprecedented attention. And she's placed on one of the smaller courts on the grounds. That doesn't look like an oversight. It looks like a message, and not a positive one. Pegula isn't the only voice raising concerns. Support for Eala has grown louder with each tournament. Even Novak Djokovic, the most decorated Grand Slam champion in men's tennis history, stepped forward. He didn't speak vaguely. He called Alex Eala the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced. He said she deserves full respect, and he agreed that her court assignments and scheduling decisions have played a role in the challenges she has faced. When someone of Djokovic's stature speaks up, the tone of the conversation changes instantly. This is no longer just frustrated fans voicing emotion online. This is elite players, champions, openly questioning a pattern they believe is unfair. And when legends begin calling something out, the sport has no choice but to listen.
Things like that happen. I mean, you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule them on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. Alex Eala, that's been a talk, which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's big.
There was also the moment during her match against Iga Swiatek, one of the most dominant forces in women's tennis in recent years. At a critical stage of that match, just as Alex Eala was building real momentum, an official chose that exact moment to approach her about items in her bag. The timing raised eyebrows. The interruption disrupted her rhythm. It broke her focus at a pivotal point. For many watching, it simply didn't add up. Why address something administrative at the very moment a player is surging? Why create a disruption when the match is hanging in the balance? To some, it felt poorly handled. To others, it felt worse than that. But if there's one thing all of this has proven, it's this. Alex Eala is not going anywhere. Every obstacle placed to her path has only sharpened her edge. Every controversial moment, every small court assignment, every scheduling decision that appeared to minimize her spotlight has done the opposite. It has amplified her story. It has strengthened the bond between her and her supporters. It has expanded her global reach. She is growing beyond the politics. She is growing beyond the limitations. Jessica Pegula sees it. Novak Djokovic sees it. And so does Coco Gauff. More importantly, millions of fans see it every time she walks onto a court. The WTA can assign her to outer courts. They can manage the schedule however they choose. But nothing about Alex Eala feels small.